Ladies and gentlemen, forecasting trends since 1980. Mr. Gerald Celente is the publisher of the TrendsJournal, founder and director of the TrendsResearchInstitute. He's the author of the highly acclaimed and best-selling books, Trend Tracking and Trends 2000 on Motor Books, and What ZZ Gave Honey Boy, a true story about love, wisdom, and the soul of America. William Morrow. Mr. Celente and the Trends Research Institute have earned the reputation as today's most trusted name in trends for their accurate, timely predictions of hundreds of social, business, consumer, environmental, economic, political, entertainment, and technological trends. Mr. Celente himself is the reason why I came to alternative media back in the day, way back when. And I said this to him the last time he came on the show. This is his second visit to the show. He recommended and pretty much screamed at the top of his lungs saying, buy gold now, when it was $200 and something. And I failed to do so at that time. And gold quickly skyrocketed past where it is today. But he has been predicting things for many, many years. I've trusted his advice. Now we're looking at over decades, and I'm honored to have him on the Pete Santilli show to not just talk about the trends into 2015, but can't wait to get his perspective on how we're going to be ending 2014. Mr. Celente joins me. Mr. Celente, welcome to the Pete Santilli show, sir. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule.
Thanks for having me on, Pete, and thanks for the kind words.
You know, it's
how are we ending? We're ending with a bang. Everybody just saw it. One of our top trends, written by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts for 2015 in the TrendsJournal, is the grand manipulation. And what happened yesterday? Oh, look at the markets. They're all going so hot. Under the good news that the Federal Reserve is going to, quote, be patient with raising interest rates. They have not raised interest rates since 2006. Be patient. These people should be patients in insane asylums because they're destroying the economy by pumping it in with cheap money and keeping the Ponzi scheme going. And the people buy it, and the markets react. And as we're speaking now, they're hitting new highs. So it's the grand manipulation is right in front of our eyes.
Do me a favor, Mr. Celente. Tell everyone, and I'm sure you already know, what the impact is going to be as a result of this $1.1 trillion spending bill, where Jamie Dimon picks up the phone to get that bill passed, to have $300 trillion in derivatives exposure put on the backs of the taxpayers. Should we not be appalled by that? Not applauding?
We should be appalled by everything that the Bloods and the Crips do. They're murderers and thieves. But for people that like to believe in their dream, they call them Republicans and Democrats. How many more people do they have to kill in wars and other atrocities before they call them murderers? And how much more money do they have to steal from us before they call them thieves? One of the other trends that we have in the TrendsJournal, top trends, is bankism. And that's a term that we coined. It's not capitalism. Mm-hmm. In capitalism, there's no such thing as too big to fail. And the person writing that is Nomi Prinz, who wrote, among other great books, her latest book, All the President's Bankers. Why should this be a surprise? It's just another atrocity being committed by the banks that we, the people, have to pay for. And yet, people still believe in their two parties, even though they keep giving us the shaft. And again, it's right in front of everyone's eyes. You're looking at, again, interest rates have not been raised since 2006. We're going into 2015. And now they're saying to be patient. They may not even raise them 2015. All they're doing is pumping money into the system so the equity funds, the hedge funds, the investor capitalists can take this dough and gamble with it because they're creating nothing other than wealth for themselves. You know, these Occupy Peace people, you know, they had great intentions, but they got it wrong. It's not the 1%. It's the 0.01%. Here, figure it out. 85 people. It's not a lot of people. Everybody probably knows 85 people. 85 people in the world control as much money as half the world's population, 3.5 billion. That's a fact. You look at the new Pew study that came out yesterday, hardly made the news. The gap between the rich and the poor is widened. It's at historical highs. So what they're doing with these record low interest rates, you're looking at merger and acquisition activity now at the highest level since 2007. You're looking at the stock market going up because the bigs borrow money for almost nothing, and they're buying back their stocks. And the banks borrow money at just about nothing, and they loan it back to us with credit cards that range from what, 18 to 36%? I mean, it's a bankism. It's a takeover. And it's in front of everyone's eyes, Pete, and they don't want to call it what it is.
Yeah. Well, also, we need to call what we're seeing right now as to the stock market increasing in the hundreds. I think over the past couple of days, the stock market's rebounded by 500 points. That is no indication whatsoever of economic prosperity, is it?
Absolutely not. Well, again, look at the numbers. Yeah, I just mentioned the Pew Research study. It also showed that since 2010, Americans' income has not gone up 1 cent, adjusted for inflation, while that 1% went up almost 8%. So no, it's not showing up. And you look at these unemployment numbers; they're a sham. Once you no longer got a job and you're off the unemployment rolls, they don't count you anymore. And you talk about Russia. I mean, this would have been a good one for the Soviet Union, but little boy Clinton did that one. All you liberal Democrats that love them so much. Yeah, the guy that also gave us NAFTA, that sold our jobs out to the Chinese. Oh, yeah, Bill Clinton. Hillary's running, isn't she? Bill Clinton, the guy that gave us GMOs. Keep shoving them down. Keep putting on those pounds. Yeah, Bill Clinton, the guy that deregulated the media. Yeah. That's why 5 companies own just about everything. Yeah, that Bill Clinton. Bill Slick Willie Clinton, the guy that also deregulated and killed the Glass-Steagall Act that prevented the bankers from stealing all our money. Don't forget to vote. And then they're going to say, well, he's better than Bush. Oh, yeah. He only killed how many people in Yugoslavia? Started the Kosovo War? Destroyed Iraq? Yeah. These liberals disgust me. They are such a bunch of low-life little coward hypocrites. They'll point at Bush, but they won't look at what their Clintons gave them.
Well, come 2015, we're going to be hearing a lot about Clintons and Bushes. I hear Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton are the quote-unquote ideal matchup for 2016. Can we expect anything different from Hillary and Jeb than we got from...
They are the perfect matchup. They are the perfect matchup to screw us. How much more shafting do they have to do? Hey, maybe some rectal feeding for everybody. Hey, Bush liked that one. Why not make it popular for everyone? Because then they could keep spewing out crap. Because that's what comes from rectal feeding, and that's what's going on in this country. It's rectal feeding 24/7 by the prostitute media. It's a disgrace. A democracy, it's a joke. I have to tell you, there's never been a time in my career other than one other. And by the way, this is one of the ways I made my name as a trend forecaster. I wrote trend tracking back in the late 80s. And at that time, I forecast a new third party. And for some reason, when hardly anybody knew him, including myself, in that book, it became a Warner book, I wrote that Ross Perot would be the kind of maverick that the people were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions exist now for a third party more so than any time in my life. And I'm 68 years old.
Mm.
You look what's going on, Pete, in Europe with the Podemos party coming out of nowhere in Spain. Now they have 33%. You look now at the reconstituted Northern League in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
From nowhere. They're they're challenging along with Beppe Grillo's group. You look what's going on with UKIP in the UK. Now they have Labour and the Conservative Party worried because they're getting more votes than they are. This is the time for America, for all brave men and women to stand up for their country and stop the criminality that's being shoved down our throats and, according to Dick Cheney, shoved up our rectums.
State-sponsored rectal feeding.
Third party.
Yes, sir. You know, let me ask you, as we go into 2015, especially as we're going after Russia in the way that we are economically, as this whole thing is shaping up, please allow me to conspiracy theorize when we talk about this quote-unquote new world order, this new global currency. Do you think that they're all working in concert to destroy the old system so that they can form the new one? Or do you think there's a battle going on, East versus West, over who's going to control the global currency and this global government that they speak of openly now? What do you think it is? You think they're working together?
The facts are there. You have Brzezinski's books. You have Robert Kagan, the neocon. It's all there, the plan to destabilize Russia and move more into the East. And you look at Victoria Nuland. Who is she? Oh, she's the Assistant Secretary of State. And what did she do? Oh, she was married to Robert Kagan, or is married to Robert Kagan. And you could, anybody, a year ago, just about today, Google it up. Victoria Nuland, Nuland, put in Washington Press Club. And there she is, paid by Chevron or sponsored by Chevron and Exxon, talking about her coming back from Ukraine. And Chevron had just cut an $11 billion deal to do hydrofracking in Ukraine. And here she is, our Assistant Secretary of State. There are photos of her passing out cookies to the demonstrators at Maidan in Kiev and telling us that the path for Ukraine is Europe. And they should follow the course set by the International Monetary Fund. It's there for everybody to listen to. There's her on audio tape talking to our Ukraine ambassador, the American's ambassador to Ukraine, Jeffrey Pyatt, talking about the overthrow of the Yanukovych government and how they're going to put, quote, Yats in there. That little boy, Yatsenyuk. It's all there. There's no conspiracy. It's in front of everybody's eyes, and no one wants to call a spade, a neocon, or a crook a crook.
See, and that's what I'm talking about, because when I was looking at the Ukraine and seeing that battle, IMF versus the solution that Russia had on the table. Russia, especially with their balance sheet being the way it was, they offered up a solution to get the Ukraine out of trouble with respect to debt. Well, the IMF, the Victoria Nulands of the world, would have nothing to do with that. Is there that battle between two entities, that East versus West banking system, or are they working in concert to destroy us? Because they're obviously doing a very good job if it goes either way. But is there a battle?
The United States. You're 100% correct, and not many people know the facts that you just put out. We wrote about it in detail in the spring edition of the TrendsJournal. Yesterday, Putin gave his speech, or today, and how different it is. No notes, no teleprompter, and taking questions from all of the media. Mm-hmm. Not like the little show they put on here in the so-called free United States. And what he said at the end of his speech, and you can go on Russia Today and you can see the print, he said that they started setting this up with the Sochi Olympics and how they had started building it against it. The West started building it against them then. We wrote about this word for word in the spring TrendsJournal. Hey, Pete, don't get on a plane to Sochi. I got a reliable source that they got toothpaste bombs over there. Toothpaste bombs? You making this stuff up? No. I heard it from an official. An official what? Oh, those Black Widow bombers, they could show up at any time. And look at, they're killing all those stray dogs over there in Sochi. Don't drink the yellow water. Look what a terrible job they did with the hotel. And those homophobes, they even had Twitter sites up to knock Sochi. By the time the Olympics started, this is a fact. Americans' perception of Russia was at a 1994 low. It's propaganda. People ask me, what businesses should I get into? Get into the propaganda business. You can do it very cheaply, very stupidly, and people will buy it just like they drink 24-ounce or 32-ounce phosphorescent Slurpees.
Well, and look at the factions that they use, and I have to call them out. I call them the gay mafia. Not to disparage the gays, but they got very energized through Sochi once you started waving those issues that they're very, very passionate about. But it was a complete and total propagandization to have people revolt against the Sochi Olympics. It was all propaganda warfare going on back then, and they had the gays all up in arms, and they were just using them as pawns to hurt those Olympics. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about
it. And dog lovers. Everybody loves a dog, but not over there in Sochi. They kill them stray dogs, I tell you.
That's funny. So the 2014 is ticking away day by day here. I don't know what the prospects are for 2015, but in the remaining moments of this segment, can you please explain to us, and I call us steak and potatoes people, not everyone understands what these derivatives are that I expect are going to be. We're sitting on a ticking time bomb as far as I'm concerned. These derivatives that are poised. Let me make this
clear.
Please explain it to us.
All the government is doing, as I mentioned, they've kept interest rates they have not raised them since 2006, okay? This has created another bubble. So here's the bubble, and here's the derivatives, and here's what we see happening. You're seeing what's happening to oil prices. It's not only oil prices, by the way. So it's not a conspiracy theory as we see it. It's copper prices. You could buy a ton of rebar, reinforcement rod, in China cheaper than you can a ton of cabbage. Look what's going on in the stores with these 70% sales already. There's more supply than demand. Oil, corn, copper, go up and down the list, from commodities to finished product. Oil prices now, as we're speaking, are at Brent is below $60, and West Texas is around $54. It's gone down over 45% since June. June, they were supposed to go up. They were at $115. That's our peak driving season. All right, now let's put it into perspective. 20% or more of junk bonds in the United States, energy related, tying into the shale and the fracking boom.
Right.
What's going to happen?
Well,
Not only in the United States. Start looking around the world.
Let me ask you something. The bubbling that you referred to. This is what I see from a layman's perspective, and I'm not a technical expert in this regard, but I see them fabricating this bubble in the energy sector, knowing full well that they were backed up with derivatives, and they're placing bets on the. Is that a pretty accurate assessment?
But it's not like they're doing it on purpose, like they did with the mortgage thing, where they knew that there was a sham. These people thought that oil prices were going to keep going up. But what they're not counting on, because they're sociopaths, is that the global economy is slowing down. This is a demand issue and an oversupply. But again, not only in oil, in corn, in copper, in rebar, in iron ore, in shoes and shirts and computers. And again, 85 people control more dough than 3.5 billion people. So you don't have a middle-class economy that could buy the product. So it's not like they did this intentionally. You have companies like General Electric that invested something like $18 billion in believing that this energy boom was going to keep going. And now they're going to be taking a big hit. So you had a lot of people that thought this energy was going to continue to explode, and all it's done is implode. Not enough. 70 million luxury apartments are vacant in China. You're looking at empty cities. Mm-hmm. They're dumping tons of dough into the system, and they can't prop it up. They got negative interest rates in Europe. Negative interest rates. You can't make this stuff up. Hey, Pete, you got some money to put in the bank? I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll take the money, but it's going to cost you 0.25% to keep it there.
It's going to cost you. You have to pay to hold your money. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. How much weight do you give to the Baltic Dry Index? I think there's a
lot.
You do? Okay. Tell us about the Baltic Dry Index and why everyone needs to pay attention to it going into 2015.
That's the amount of shipping that's going on around the world.
Right.
And it's down. So when it goes back to, it's a very simple formula. If Americans and Europeans don't buy stuff, Chinese don't make it. The Indonesians, the Vietnamese, and other Bangladesh, and other slave labor countries. Mm-hmm. If they're not making, then Canada, Australia, Brazil, Bolivia, Chile, all of these export-rich countries, and many others, Angola, they're not shipping out natural resources. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on. There's a slowdown in China that's reflected in the slowdowns in the United States. Look what happened in Christmas spending, in Black Friday. It was down 11%. Mm-hmm. No, they didn't make it up on Cyber Monday. They got some of it back. Look what's going on in Europe. You're looking at unemployment levels in Italy not seen since World War II. Mm-hmm. You have 26% officially in Greece and Spain. You have in Italy 40% of the youth unemployment, 50% in Greece, and around that in Spain. You have a global slowdown. Again, go back to yesterday's news coming out from the Fed. We're going to be patient with raising them interest rates because we got to keep pumping in this cheap dough to keep the Ponzi scheme going. And even at that level, you're looking at new housing starts slowed down, and so too are new mortgage applications, even with these record low interest rates.
Do you think and this is, to me, the Baltic Dry Index is a number that's very difficult to manipulate because I just can't trust any economic indicator here in the U.S.
It's coming from the companies, and they're saying how tough it is.
Mm-hmm. And that's essentially just movement of inventory throughout the world as countries are trading among each other, whether it be raw goods or you're saying natural resources.
Finished product to raw goods, or raw goods to finished product.
Okay. Wow. The very I would say the most disturbing trend that I see overall, politically, economically, and you reference this in Bankism in your Trends Journal. We've gotten so far away from free market capitalism. Our system is completely destroyed. And by the way, that's all we have time for. And I thank you so much. TrendsJournal.com is your website. We're going to provide links. I love everything you do, Gerald, and I thank you for taking the time out. And we're going to strongly recommend that everyone, if they want to know what's going on, especially into 2015, to get a copy of the Trends Journal. But thanks for taking the time out, Mr. Celente.
Oh, thank you, Pete, and thank you for all you're doing.
It's been a great segment. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gerald Celente, TrendsJournal.com, and we're going to provide all the links to how you can get a copy of the Trends Journal, of course. I've been following him for decades, and trusting his insight, his straightforward approach to exposing the truth, and I'm honored that he was willing to do that here today. We'll be back right after the top of the hour news break, right after this.